not just forsaking, you got to understand, they're leaving their own families to pursue these women. They're divorcing their wives to go after exotic wives. And God says, I'm done with this. Set the example. And as they're talking about this and people are saddened and grieved and crying, walks by where they're at a guy, and notice what it says, verse 7, or let's go back to 6. Indeed, one of the children of Israel came and presented to his brethren a Midianite woman in the sight of Moses, in the sight of the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Verse 7, now when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, when he saw this, notice what happened. He saw it, he rose from among the congregation, and he went and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her body. So the plague was stopped among the children of Israel. And those who died in the plague were 24,000. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was zealous with my zeal among them, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my zeal. Therefore say, behold, I give to him my covenant of peace. There's the covenant. We're talking about Malachi. I give to him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and his descendants after him a covenant of an everlasting priesthood. There you go. Because he was zealous, here's the why, because he was zealous for his God and made atonement for the children of Israel. So back over to Malachi. So again, the consequences. That priest, right, Phinehas, he was walking in line with the same attitude of the Levites when Moses came off the mountain and said, who's on the Lord's side? And they stepped forward first. Their love for the Lord. They recognized this sinful debauchery. They recognized this Phinehas saw this that was taking place was not in the name of the Lord. And it was wrong and it was sinful. And they wanted to separate from that. And God honors that. And He always honors that, guys. Do you not know that to make yourself a friend of the world is to be an enemy of God? Look at the James passage. Let's go there because it's very applicable for us as, quote unquote, a priesthood today. Let's go to James. James. And let's look at chapter 4. James 4 says, where do wars and fights come from among you? Do they not come from your desire for pleasure that war in your members? We're in chapter 4, verse 1, now verse 2. You lust and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and war, yet you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures. Notice what he calls them. Adulterers and adulteresses. He's saying, look, you're cheating on me. God's people, you're cheating on me. Notice what he says. Do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Okay, you want to go the way of the world? You want to enjoy the pleasures of the temporary, not embracing the eternal? Your choice, but there's consequences. You make yourself an enemy of God. Or do you not think that the Scripture says in vain, the Spirit who dwells in us yearns jealously? You see, this is the same Spirit that was in the Levites. that wanted to honor God. This was the spirit that was in Phineas, who when he saw the guy taking the girl into his tent, he was stirred to that type of righteous indignation. The same type of righteous indignation that caused Jesus to flip the tables over and put together a whip and drive out those money changers from his temple. That type of earnest jealousy for the things of God is what He still desires from us as His holy nation and royal priesthood. When we see the things happening in the world, it should cause us to be jealously angered for the things of God. Because man is dishonoring the name of God. And especially amongst those who claim the name. We don't treat the world that way. Right? I expect the blind man to be blind. But the one who has sight, he sees. And so those are the ones that we desire to plead with, and so did James here. So, back to the subject at hand. He said, I'm going to rebuke your descendants. He says, in fact, I'm going to tell you, you're disgracing my name. Your name's